Ah, there you are, beautiful people of planet Earth and all other sentient beings across this wide cosmos. I bid you good morning, salutations and greetings from my sacred space, home and garden at Titania's realm. Here on this beautiful, sunny, peaceful morning in Brisbane, Australia. It's hot again, but it was no wind and slightly cooler than yesterday, so I put the birdie boys outside in the outside cages, and Bo seems to be very happy about that. They were stuck inside for 2 days because it was just too hot to put them out here. So we'll see how we go. If it gets overly heated, I may have to bring us back inside, but we're going with the flow, as we often do here at Titania's realm, weaving the magical and the mundane, one day at a time, one breath at a time. So I went dancing last night at Lefties Club in Paddington, dancing for and with the Mike Beale Band. I particularly wanted to support my friend Tim Bishop, who's a wonderful bass guitarist and whom I befriended when he was stepped into the breach to cover for our beautiful Juddy when he was off sick for 4 months. And they're both wonderful men and wonderful musicians. So he's a wonderful man, and I haven't been, supporting going to his gigs much because my priority is always Ramjet, and it was also Alter Egos, and I would alternate between the two. And on occasion I would catch the Mike Beale Band when they played before Ramjet or Alter Egos came on at the Brooklyn Standard, and got to support Tim a little bit that way. But I thought, let's do a whole gig of the Mike Beale Band and exclusively support him, because he's a wonderful human being, and I like to support my musician friends as they support me, to have my wild, shamanic, moshing, Bodicea berserker dance, am I right? It's a symbiosis and a catharsis that we reach together after hours of performing. They're performing with their musicians and me performing with my ham acting and my wild dance. My performance art, as my psychiatrist likes to frame it as, really it's just me being a bit silly and releasing pent-up tensions from the week before, and just being out in the world for one night only on the weekend, and sometimes two if I have enough energy reservoirs. But anyway, my little lorikeet birdie boys are here. I've put food out for them. They were whistling to me the minute I got out in the garden. Tweet, 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 tweet. I said, yes, I'll get your food. They've only just clicked on that their food is there. Took them a while. Yes, I love you, my little babies. Charlie's friends. I'm nearly out of lorikeet mix, which means I'll have to buy some more. And just one moment. It's hellishly expensive, so I might have started something that's going to be difficult to keep up with, but the multiverse always provides, so I'll won't quibble or grizzle too much. They will get fed, and I will get fed. And Kermie and Bo will get fed. The goldfish in the front pond I don't feed as often as I used to because they live on the algae in the pond pretty much exclusively now, but every now and then I give them a treat of actual fish food to supplement their diet. So the garden's fed and nourished by the rain and the hail and the occasional wormwee and worm poo I put down. And everyone's happy and grateful and satiated and contented and peaceful and satisfied. And it's a beautiful life, people of Earth. A beautiful life. I was astonished. I posted it on my Instagram and my Facebook, excuse me. I was walking back from Lefties. I had to park a fair distance away. There's never any parks, and I resent paying $20+ for car parking. It's outrageous. That's a drink and a half. It's like I've got to weigh my pros and my cons and balance my budget somehow. And I thought, well, a workout, but a walk won't hurt me too much, except that Paddington is very hilly, a bit like Wellington actually, very steep hills. So I was huffing and puffing and wheezing and dragging my assets along the road, and when I got to the club, the bartender said, "How are you?" which was very polite and kind of him. And I said, "Well, I'm hot and bothered." I said, "I love Lefties, but the parking is terrible here." And he nodded and slung me a Jack Daniels on Coke, and so began my evening. But going home, the walk wasn't quite as bad because it was night time and the air had cooled down a bit, and it was actually quite pleasant. The only thing that is scary is you worry about being jumped or followed or attacked on your walk back to your car as a woman on your own. But no one was around. It was just me inhaling the beautiful aromas of flowers and people's gardens and looking around. I turned my torch on just so in case I should trip over a snake or something, because you can't very see in the dark and strange terrain. Anyway, I looked up and the moon, it's only half full, but it was surrounded by this mottled clouds all around, all the sky, all around it was illuminated by the moon, but these very mottled, speckled clouds, which was quite astonishing. And I thought it was so beautiful, the black and white visage and the light and the shadow, the night sky, that I took a photograph of it. And I posted it on Instagram, and I talked about what a lovely night I'd had, and this was my view returning to my car. I didn't think anything more of it. And this morning I looked at the photo again, and in the Lefties Club, it's a wonderful club actually. I should actually go there more often, but the parking, the hassle of parking and walking there actually puts me off going there. It's a shame because I really love the vibe in there. It's more of an intimate kind of space, but it's just got a kind of a jazz type feel. Anyway, they have taxidermied animals all along the walls and corners of the room, and one of the animals is a bear, which must have cost them a small fortune to acquire that, people of Earth. And another is a moose with its antlers, and they hang braziers off the antlers of the moose, and it's just whimsical and funny and delightful. So I took a photo and I wrote "hanging loose at Lefties," and put a photo of the band and another photo of myself, and admired the taxidermied bear. And later on I took a photo of myself next to a deer, and I wrote, "Frankly, my dear," ellipse, you know, the quote being, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn," from Gone with the Wind. And so anyway, I didn't really think much more when I took the photo of the moonscape. This morning I looked at it, and there was quite distinct, formed in the shape of the clouds, what looked like a bear smiling down. It could possibly be a dog of some kind too. And then there was another little animal that looked like a possum, or, you know, a mouse, or some cute little fluffy creature on the other side. So I put circles around it so people could see them easily, because I have a big imagination and eye for patterns, being a bit artistic, but not everyone notices it straight away. I didn't even notice it straight away last night, but that's why I felt drawn to take the photo. So anyway, I posted it, and then I thought about it. Oh, it's the spirit of the taxidermied bear, and the lefties was smiling down at me from the sky above, the night sky with the moon. And it was just lovely. Kermie's trying to bath in his water bowl, and it's like insane. I give him, he hasn't got the bowl at the moment, but I do give him a bath he never uses. He likes to torture himself by struggling in his water bowl. Kermie, I'll give you a bath of water. There's not enough room to put your body in. Oh, you mad little pigeon. He's a mad little pigeon. There's something wrong with his wing too. He's favouring it. Hope he's okay. Dear goddess. I might actually go and get his bath, because he won't use it, but at least I'll feel like, all right, boys, you don't have to fly away, you can stay. One's nervous and the other stayed. I'll give him his bath. Oh, are you still there? Yes, we're still filming. Because it frustrates me that he tries to bath in his little water bowl, and he's a fairly big-sized bird. He needs a bigger bath. So, yes, I know. I need to do my dishes. It will happen, people of Earth. It will happen later on today. Sometimes I don't bother for a day. It's only me, and there's not a lot of dishes. I don't have to feel ashamed. Right. Living la vida loca, my beautiful boy. Here's a proper bath for bathing in. Go on. This is what you bath in, Kermie. I'll splash it and show you. Look. Yay, bathies. Bath. He's like, what? What? I already had one in my water bowl, Mama T. I keep trying, Kermie. I keep trying. Right, we're 13 minutes in, and I want to continue with Alice in Wonderland. So let me just catch my breath and settle into the magic that is Lewis Carroll and Alice in Wonderland. Chapter 5. Advice from a caterpillar. The caterpillar and Alice looked at each other for some time in silence. Just going to move this a little bit. There. No, still squidgy, aren't I? There. At last the caterpillar took the hooker out of its mouth and addressed her in a languid, sleepy voice. "Who are you?" said the caterpillar. This was not an encouraging opening for a conversation. Alice replied rather shyly. I hardly know, sir. Just at present, at least, I know who I was when I got up this morning, but I think I must have been changed several times since then. What do you mean by that? Said the caterpillar sternly. Explain yourself. I can't explain myself, I'm afraid, sir, said Alice, because I'm not myself, you see. I don't see, said the caterpillar. I'm afraid I can't put it more clearly, Alice replied very politely, for I can't understand it myself, to begin with, and being so many different sizes in a day is very confusing. It isn't, said the caterpillar. Well, perhaps you haven't found it so yet, said Alice, but when you have to turn into a chrysalis, you will some day, you know, and then after that into a butterfly, I should think you'll feel it a little queer, won't you? Not a bit, said the caterpillar. Well, perhaps your feelings may be different, said Alice. All I know is it would feel very queer to me. You, said the caterpillar contemptuously. Who are you? Which brought them back to the beginning of the conversation. Alice felt a little irritated at the caterpillars making such very short remarks, and she drew herself up and said very gravely, I think you ought to tell me who you are first. Why? Said the caterpillar. Here was another puzzling question. And as Alice could not think of any good reason, and as the caterpillar seemed to be in a very unpleasant state of mind, she turned away. Here's a picture of the caterpillar. Who are you? One might ask, who was anyone, really? Just mere fractalized imaginations in the mind of God, cast into physical reality, forced to shovel shit and exist, sometimes in a not very pleasant paradigm. But who are we anyway? Try not to think about it. Spirits having a human experience, I suppose. A holographic dreaming, a psychedelic dream, whirling and twirling and swirling in infinity. But don't mind me, I might have indulged in the pipe a few times in my day. Not often, but enough to expand my consciousness. As if it weren't expanded enough by all the near drownings as a child and the abuse dynamics and, yes, multitudes of near deaths. They kept wanting to give me drugs to send me docile, and Mama too refuses to be docile, you understand? It's an insult to tame me and turn me docile and complicit and complacent and compliant. It's an insult to my spirit who fought back from death many, many times. Back up in the tree, little boys and girl. Boy and girl. Did you enjoy your rainbow lorikeet mix? Charlie used to love it. Yes, she did. It's got blueberries in it. Kermie and Bo have got blueberries in their fruit bowls today. Oh, Bo loves blueberries too. Kermie loves blueberries. Bo couldn't give a flying fuck. Literally, he's not eating his fruit and vegetables. What am I going to do with my bird child? I'm 45, Mum. I think you're more like 55. Anyway, he's so cute and adorable, but he seems ancient beyond worlds. Right, anyway, we'll see. He's scampering around his cage, having a drink of water. He might go and eat a blueberry. Oh, the lorikeets have gone, flown off. Oh well, they're very happy doing lorikeet things, and the mummatee is very happy doing mummatee Tanya psychedelic dreaming things. Let us continue on with the story. Excuse me. Come back, the caterpillar called after her. I've something important to say. This sounded promising, certainly. Alice turned and came back again. Keep your temper, said the caterpillar. Is that all? Said Alice, swallowing down her anger as well as she could. No, said the caterpillar. I get fruit and veg delivered from farmers direct, and that very crisp, fresh apple, it's got a bit of a bruise in it, but apart from that, it's quite crisp. So I'm enjoying the fresh produce that gets hand delivered to my door now. I'm working it, baby. I'm working it, making my life very easy indeed. If I could avoid going to the shops altogether, I'd be a prisoner in my own home, wouldn't I? It's good to go to the shop sometimes, just for that slight human interaction. Yes, my birdie boys are very happy to be in the garden, in the fresh air. It's good for us. Right. Keep your temper, said the caterpillar. Is that all, said Alice, swallowing down her anger as well as she could. No, said the caterpillar. Alice thought she might as well wait, as she had nothing else to do, and perhaps, after all, it might tell her something worth hearing. For some minutes it puffed away without speaking, but at last it unfolded its arms, took the hookah out of its mouth again and said, So you think you're changed, do you? I'm afraid I am, sir, said Alice. I can't remember things as I used, and I don't keep the same size for 10 minutes together. Can't remember what things, said the caterpillar. Well, I can't remember how doth the little busy bee, but it all came different, Alice replied in a very melancholy voice. Repeat, you are old, Father William, said the caterpillar. Alice folded her hands and began. I'm really happy because little Beau's playing in his little, I'll show you, his little wooden box I bought for $2 in an op shop with toys. He was actually had one of the toys in his beak and was playing with it, but he got all coy when I turned the camera on him. Like all my pets, he abhors the paparazzi. I guess so would I if I were a celebrity. It would get very boring, wouldn't it? Being followed by people with cameras all day, trying to catch you at your most inopportune moments, of which I have many inopportune moments. Food in my teeth, hair flying in weird directions, too much boobillage on view, not enough boobillage on view, and on it goes and on it goes. You are old, Father William, the young man said, and your hair has become very white, and yet you incessantly stand on your head. Do you think, at your age, it is right? In my youth, Father William replied to his son, I feared it might injure the brain. But now that I'm perfectly sure I have none, why, I do it again and again. You are old, said the youth, as I mentioned before, and have grown most uncommonly fat. Yet you turned a back somersault in at the door. Pray, what is the reason of that? In my youth, said the sage as he shook his grey locks, I kept all my limbs very supple. By the use of this ointment, 1 shilling the box. Allow me to sell you a couple. You are old, said the youth, and your jaws are too weak for anything tougher than suet. Yet you finished the goose with the bones and the beak. Pray, how did you manage to do it? In my youth, said his father, I took to the law and argued each case with my wife, and the muscular strength which it gave to my jaw has lasted the rest of my life. You are old, said the youth. One would hardly suppose that your eye was as steady as ever. Yet you balanced an eel on the end of your nose. What made you so awfully clever? I have answered 3 questions, and that is enough, said his father. Don't give yourself airs. Do you think I can listen all day to such stuff? Be off, or I'll kick you downstairs. That is not said right, said the caterpillar. Not quite right, I'm afraid, said Alice timidly. Some of the words have got altered. It is wrong from beginning to end, said the caterpillar decidedly. And there was silence for some minutes. The caterpillar was the first to speak. What size do you want to be? It asked. Oh, I'm not particular as to size, Alice hastily replied. Only one doesn't like changing so often, you know. I don't know, said the caterpillar. Alice said nothing, and she had never been so much contradicted in all her life before, and she felt that she was losing her temper. One doesn't like to be constantly contradicted, does one? Are you content now? Said the caterpillar. Well, I should like to be a little larger, sir, if you wouldn't mind, said Alice. 3 inches is such a wretched height to be. It is a very good height indeed, said the caterpillar angrily, rearing itself upright as it spoke. It was exactly 3 inches high. But I'm not used to it, pleaded poor Alice in a piteous tone. She thought to herself, I wish the creatures wouldn't be so easily offended. It's a bit like cancel culture in modern social media society, isn't it? Easily offended. Always looking for some argument where there actually didn't need to be one. Just agree to disagree. Move along, nothing to see here. Kermie's chewing on his blueberry. Are you a happy blueberry bird? Yes, he says, Mama T. I's a very happy indeed. You should be, little Kermie. You're in the garden with your blueberry and your mad Mama T and your little cockatiel offside in another cage, because I don't put them together when they're in the garden. They probably could be together. They get along most of the time now. At least they've stopped trying to kill each other. So that's progress, people are there. Right. Look. I won't say it. Just look. What you doing, little Bo? Bobo's playing with his toys. He's a good little Bobo, isn't he? Almost as good as my dog Beauregard, Bobo. We miss the Bobo. We do. There we go. Good boy. What's that? A bit of loofah. Well, I'm very happy because all those bird toys cost me a lot of money. Not the little box, that cost me $2, was almost nothing, but the things that went in it were quite expensive and easily destroyed. And I actually thought to myself, well, that was a bit of a madness, wasn't it? But no, he's enjoying it and getting value out of it, so it wasn't quite so mad after all. Right, he's a much happier birdie these days. I've had them now. They arrived on the 13th of May. So what's that? June, July, August, September, October. 6 months, just over 6 months. 6 months and 2 weeks. But they're happy little birdies now. Took a fair bit getting over the shock of being in a new home with a new human, and then they had to get used to brand new cages, and Bo went from being in a ridiculously tiny cage to a quite large cage, which put him into shock too for a while. But now he's got the hang of it and he's enjoying his freedom of movement and mobility and playful. He's playful and he's enjoying life, as it should always be for each individual soul. Am I right, people of Earth? Enough room to move in and enough freedom to breathe in. Right. "You'll get used to it in time," said the caterpillar, and it put the hookah into its mouth. And began smoking again. Now I feel like one of my little wee Willem cigars. I haven't had one in ages. I'm probably going to go stale before I have them all. Dear Goddess. This time, Alice waited patiently until it chose to speak again. In a minute or two, the caterpillar took the hookah out of its mouth and yawned, once or twice, and shook itself. Then it got down off the mushroom and crawled away into the grass, merely remarking as it went, "One side will make you grow taller, and the other side will make you grow shorter." "One side of what? The other side of what?" thought Alice to herself. "Of the mushroom," said the caterpillar, just as if she had asked it aloud. And in another moment, it was out of sight. Caterpillars with telepathy. Well, it makes sense, doesn't it, since they transmute and transform and metamorphose their own little bodies. Here's a butterfly coming just as I said that. Just delightful. Alice remained looking thoughtfully at the mushroom for a minute, trying to make out which were the two sides of it, and as it was perfectly round, she found this a very difficult question. However, at last, she stretched her arms round it as far as they would go and broke off a bit of the edge with each hand. "And now, which is which?" she said to herself, and nibbled a little of the right-hand bit to try the effect. The next moment she felt a violent blow underneath her chin. It had struck her foot. She was a good deal frightened by this very sudden change, but she felt that there was no time to be lost as she was shrinking rapidly, so she set to work at once to eat some of the other bit. Her chin was pressed so closely against her foot, not my hand, but her foot, that there was hardly room to open her mouth. But she did it at last and managed to swallow a morsel of the left-hand bit. See what I mean about my hair? Doing weird things. But it needs a wash. I sweated so much from the wild moshing and really could do with another wash, but I had a shower when I came home to wash off the sweat. I didn't feel like washing my hair and going to bed with wet hair. Sometimes I'm like that. "Come, my head's free at last," said Alice in a tone of delight, which changed into alarm in another moment when she found that her shoulders were nowhere to be found. All she could see when she looked down was an immense length of neck which seemed to rise like a stalk out of a sea of green leaves that lay far below her. She's going to have to moderate the dosages, isn't she? It's going to take a fair bit of trial and error by the sounds of it. "What can all that green stuff be?" said Alice. "And where have my shoulders got to? And oh, my poor hands, how is it I can't see you?" She was moving them about as she spoke, but no result seemed to follow, except a little shaking among the distant green leaves. Someone's watching us. Just for a moment. It'll be a bird. Can't see it, but I feel their presence very strongly. The little butcher bird that visits has got a very powerful presence. Feels like a human watching you. And then you look up and he's like... So I actually expected it to be him, but I can't see him. But I hear a tweet in the tree, so there is someone. There is someone of the birdie variety up there somewhere. Where are you? Aha. I was right. Little Indian minor bird. It's amazing what happens when you stay grounded on planet Earth. You become attuned to all that lives. Less attuned to humans though. They don't understand it. And by the way, that's perfectly okay for their nanobot cyborg world. I'd much rather be attuned to the birds and the creatures of the earth. On that note, I'm going to take a bite of my apple. Kermie just pulled out a feather, went flying. What you doing, Kermie? Are you stripping yourself bare? It's got a fair bit of yellow in it. Interesting. These are mostly green. Right. We'll carry on with the story, people of Earth. I know I'm a bit flippity-gibbety this morning, but I'm actually still a bit tired. I only had 6 hours sleep after that wonderful wild dance last night, which was so good for me and so nourishing. And Tim was so kind to me. Thank you, Tim. You're a wonderful human being. I said that already when I started this video, didn't I? But yes, I felt very valued and appreciated last night. Goddess bless. Actually, even one woman came to my table sometime late in the first set, and or maybe it was the beginning of the second one when they started dancing. A whole group of women came down, and she approached me at my little table, and very courteously, I was very impressed by her manners. She said, would you mind if I put my champagne glass down on your table? And I was sitting there alone. There was room for 3 other people to sit at that table. And I said, of course you may, I don't mind at all. So she put it down, but it was very courteous how she asked my permission, as opposed to what happened that night at the Koala Tavern, where they just imposed on me and were so vicious that night, including my former friend Scott. Oh, the viciousness that night, the savagery, the othering was foul. So I looked at this woman last night and I thought, what wonderful manners and respect and class. She was a class act, that lady. Right, now where was I? Ah, yes. Alice freaking out about losing the view of her hands, as she would. As there seemed to be no chance of getting her hands up to her head, she tried to get her head down to them, and was delighted to find that her neck would bend with about easily in any direction, like a serpent. She had just succeeded in curving it down into a graceful zigzag and was going to dive in among the leaves when she found to be nothing but the tops of the trees under which she had been wandering, when a sharp hiss made her draw back in a hurry. A large pigeon had flown into her face and was beating her violently with its wings. My goodness. "Serpent!" screamed the pigeon. "I'm not a serpent," said Alice indignantly. "Let me alone." Is that a reference to the reptilians that walk amongst us, I wonder? Perhaps. "Serpent, I say again," repeated the pigeon, but in a more subdued tone, and added with a kind of sob, "I've tried every way and nothing seems to suit them." "I haven't the least idea what you're talking about," said Alice. "I've tried the roots of trees, and I've tried banks, and I've tried hedges," the pigeon went on without attending to her. "But those serpents, there's no pleasing them." "I disagree with that. When Sybil came to live with me for 12 days last year, she was well pleased, provided I left her alone to work on shedding her skin, and she left me alone because she knew I was a bit terrified of her, at least initially, for the first 4 days. Then we became symbiotically, telepathically connected, and I was checking on her 5 times a day, worrying over her as if she were my own child. It was a very interesting and unusual experience. Serpents can be very nice people, I might add. Well, that python was very nice anyway. However, if she comes again, she'll be after the birds. Then she won't be so bloody nice. But, I don't think she can get into their cages, but the sight of her trying might frighten them to death. So I'm a bit wary about that. Kermie's chewing on the little wooden blocks of his swing, which is okay. It's meant to keep them entertained and give them something to do. But he's really going for it. "You're very playful, you two boys, today. I haven't seen you be so playful since I got you, actually. 6 months and you finally discover the art of play. That means they're relaxed and feel comfortable and safe and at home at long last. And you can be playful. It took me a while to not feel intimidated being in a different venue last night. I normally dance from the moment the band starts up, from the very first set, but it took me till the second set, when all the other dancers had gone onto the floor. Then I resumed my usual position in front of the bass guitarist and strutting my stuff. And when I finally turned up, he just looked at me. It confuses my musician friends when I don't actually get up and dance, because they know that that's what I'm there for from the very beginning of the night. It's my prima facie reason for being there. But yes, we had a lovely time. So lovely. Alice was more and more puzzled, but she thought there was no use in saying anything more till the pigeon had finished. "As if it wasn't trouble enough hatching the eggs," said the pigeon, "but I must be on the lookout for serpents night and day. Why, I haven't had a wink of sleep these 3 weeks." "I'm very sorry you've been annoyed," said Alice, who was beginning to see its meaning. "And just as I'd taken the highest tree in the wood," continued the pigeon, raising its voice to a shriek, "and just as I was thinking I should be free of them at last, they must needs come wriggling down from the sky. Ugh, serpent!" "But I'm not a serpent, I tell you," said Alice. I'm a, well, what are you?" said the pigeon. "I can see you're trying to invent something." "I'm a little girl," said Alice, rather doubtfully as she remembered the number of changes she had gone through that day. "A likely story indeed," said the pigeon, in a tone of the deepest contempt. "I've seen a good many little girls in my time, but never one with such a neck as that. No, no. You're a serpent, and there's no use denying it. I suppose you'll be telling me next that you've never tasted an egg." "I have tasted eggs, certainly," said Alice, who was a very truthful child. "But little girls eat eggs quite as much as serpents do, you know." "I don't believe it," said the pigeon. "But if they do, why then they're a kind of serpent. That's all I can say." This was such a new idea to Alice that she was quite silent for a minute or two, which gave the pigeon the opportunity of adding, "You're looking for eggs, I know that well enough, and what does it matter to me whether you're a little girl or a serpent?" "It matters a good deal to me," said Alice hastily, "but I'm not looking for eggs as it happens, and if I was, I shouldn't want yours. I don't like them raw." "Well, be off then," said the pigeon in a sulky tone as it settled down again into its nest. Alice crouched down among the trees as well as she could, for her neck kept getting entangled among the branches, and every now and then she had to stop and untwist it. I was listening to all the little bones crackling in my neck from years of mushing. One day my head might fall off, you know, just like the Red Queen. Off with your head! But I've lost my head in the past for lesser mortals, so I shan't be losing it again, you understand. The Mummity has spoken. After a while she remembered that she still held the pieces of mushroom in her hand, and she set to work very carefully, nibbling first at one and then at the other, and growing sometimes taller and sometimes shorter, until she had succeeded in bringing herself down to her usual height. Oh, that bloody turkey is here. Well, I need a drink. Let me just rush out. I've got one more paragraph to go, but I'm going to save the lorikeet for you. Now look here, you. That's not yours. No, it's not. You know it's not. trill seeds instead. Mama T doesn't like feeding my birdies trill. But you can have it. Yes, I know. Busy bird. Busy bird. Gives, the goddess takes away, the goddess gives again. No lorikeet mix for you, but you've got seed now. He's much happier anyway, having seeds. Kermie was just giving me a very strange look. Why are you feeding that demon bird, he says. He's not our problem. He belongs to the forest. Quite right. Right, where were we? It was so long since she had been anything near the right size that it felt quite strange at first, but she got used to it in a few minutes and began talking to herself as usual. Come, there's half my plan done now. How puzzling all these changes are. I'm never sure what I'm going to be from one minute to another. However, I've got back to my right size. The next thing is to get into that beautiful garden. How is that to be done, I wonder? As she said this, she came suddenly upon an open place with a little house in it about 4 feet high. Whoever lives there, thought Alice. It will never do to come upon them this size. Why, I should frighten them out of their wits. So she began nibbling at the right-hand bit again, and did not venture to go near the house till she had brought herself down to 9 inches high. Right, we're up to chapter 6 now. How long is chapter 6, people of Earth? A few pages long. If I don't segue and get distracted, we can knock it out of the park. But on the other hand, why can't we enjoy ourselves while we're reading to the people of Earth who've learnt to tolerate my rather odd behaviours by now? I never eat apple, by the way. Never, never, never. So this is an anomaly. It usually gives me reflux. It's why I don't eat it. But it's such a nice apple, I couldn't resist. I tasted it when I was cutting it up for the birds, and I thought, I shall have some of that for myself. Oh, are you scared of Mr. Crow, little Bo? Oh, you poor little birdie. Probably in the wild crow kills cockatiels. He can't get you. He's out there. You're inside your cages. Crow wants some seeds too. Thinks there'll be a fight between him and the turkey. He's thirsty. He's got his beak wide open. What you doing, Mr. Crow? He's going to have a swim. Don't know if that water's cool enough. Might be hot. It's been out in the sun. He's tested it with his beak. He's drinking it. He really was thirsty. I put fresh water on top of the potting little cabinet there, but oh well. Chapter 6. For a minute or two she stood looking at the house and wondering what to do. Oh, sorry, it's titled Pig and Pepper. Oh, I'm all over the place today. Oh, I'm meandering like a mad moshing woman. For a minute or two she stood looking at the house and wondering what to do next, when suddenly a footman in livery came running out of the wood. She considered him to be a footman because he was in livery, otherwise, judging by his face only, she would have called him a fish. And rapped loudly at the door with his knuckles. This is what comes of chewing on too many psychedelic mushrooms, people of Earth. Be careful what you put into your body. Legal or illegal substances, same. It was opened by another footman in livery with a round face and large eyes, like a frog. And both footmen, Alice noticed, had powdered hair that curled all over their heads. She felt very curious to know what it was all about, and crept a little way out of the wood to listen. The fish footman began by producing from under his arm a great letter, nearly as large as himself, and this he handed over to the other, saying in a solemn tone, "For the Duchess, an invitation from the Queen to play croquet." The frog footman repeated in the same solemn tone, only changing the order of the words a little. "From the Queen, an invitation for the Duchess to play croquet." Then they both bowed low, and their curls got entangled together. Alice laughed so much at this that she had to run back into the wood for fear of their hearing her, and when she next peeped out, the fish footman was gone, and the other was sitting on the ground near the door, staring stupidly up into the sky. Alice went timidly up to the door and knocked. "There's no sort of use in knocking," said the footman, "and that for two reasons. First, because I'm on the same side of the door as you are. Secondly, because they're making such a noise inside, no one could possibly hear you." And certainly there was a most extraordinary noise going on within, a constant howling and sneezing, and every now and then a great crash, as if a dish or kettle had been broken to pieces, like the one you broke the other day, Bebe. Dear goddess. "Please then," said Alice, "how am I to get in?" "There might be some sense in your knocking," the footman went on, without attending to her. "If we had the door between us, for instance, if you were inside, you might knock and I should let you out, you know." He was looking up into the sky all the time he was speaking, and this Alice thought decidedly uncivil. I wonder what he was looking for. Perhaps UFOs or UAPs. But perhaps he can't help it, she said to herself. His eyes are so very nearly at the top of his head, and at any rate he might answer questions. "How am I to get in?" she repeated aloud. "I shall sit here," the footman remarked, "till tomorrow." At this moment the door of the house opened, and a large, plate came skimming out straight at the footman's head. It just grazed his nose and broke to pieces against one of the trees behind him. Or next day, maybe, the footman continued in the same tone, exactly as if nothing had happened. How am I to get in? Asked Alice again in a louder tone. Are you to get in at all? Said the footman. That's the first question, you know. It was, no doubt, only Alice did not like to be told so. It's really dreadful, she muttered to herself, the way all the creatures argue. It's enough to drive one crazy. The footman seemed to think this a good opportunity of repeating his remark, with variations. I shall sit here, he said, on and off, for days and days. And what am I to do? Said Alice. Anything you like, said the footman, and began whistling. Right, having a wee moment there, you understand. Oh, there's no use in talking to him, said Alice desperately. He's perfectly idiotic. And she opened the door and went in. The door led right into a large kitchen which was full of smoke from one end to the other. The Duchess was sitting on a three-legged stool in the middle, nursing a baby. The cook was leaning over the fire, stirring a large cauldron which seemed to be full of soup. There's certainly too much pepper in that soup, Alice said to herself, as well as she could, for sneezing, which reminds me I need to buy some more peppercorns for my ground up pepper. Yes, I keep forgetting that. I wonder why I keep forgetting it. It's odd. There was certainly too much of it in the air. Even the Duchess sneezed occasionally. And as for the baby, it was sneezing and howling alternately without a moment's pause. He's really feasting on that seed, isn't he? Trill baby. You're a trill baby, aren't you? Happy bird. The only two creatures in the kitchen that did not sneeze were the cook and a large cat which was sitting on the hearth and grinning from ear to ear. Which is the only way to grin, really. If you're going to grin, like, just bloody well commit to grinning. Please, would you tell me, said Alice a little timidly, for she was not quite sure whether it was good manners for her to speak first, why your cat grins like that? It's a Cheshire cat, said the Duchess, and that's why. Pig, she said the last word with such sudden violence that Alice quite jumped. But she saw in another moment that it was addressed to the baby and not to her, so she took courage and went on again. I didn't know that Cheshire cats always grinned. In fact, I didn't know that cats could grin. She doesn't know much, does she? All my cats were wonderful smilers. They all can, said the Duchess. And most of them do. Indeed, the Duchess is right about that. And sometimes they walk into the room with a smile on their little fairy faces and their tail curled up in the shape of a question mark. And you know they're really quite happy. I miss my cats. Yes, Kermie, I miss the cats. You never got to meet my cats because they'd all passed on long before you came here. But Charlie used to, she loved the cats too, believe it or not. They were scared of her. She used to give them hell. So there you go. I don't know of any that do, Alice said very politely, feeling quite pleased to have got into a conversation. You don't know much, said the Duchess, and that's a fact. Alice did not at all like the tone of this remark, and thought it would be as well to introduce some other subject of conversation. While she was trying to fix on one, the cook took the cauldron of soup off the fire and at once set to work, throwing everything within her reach at the Duchess and the baby. The fire irons came first, then followed a shower of saucepans, plates and dishes. The Duchess took no notice of them even when they hit her, and the baby was howling so much already that it was quite impossible to say whether the blows hurt it or not. Oh, please mind what you're doing, cried Alice, jumping up and down in an agony of terror. Oh, there goes his precious nose! As an unusually large saucepan flew close by it and very nearly carried it off. If everyone minded their own business, said the Duchess in a hoarse growl, the world would go round a deal faster than it does. Which would not be an advantage, said Alice, who felt very glad to get an opportunity of showing off a little of her knowledge. Just think what work it would make with the day and night. You see, the earth takes 24 hours to turn round on its axis. Talking of axes, said the Duchess, chop off her head. Alice glanced rather anxiously at the cook to see if she meant to take the hint, but the cook was busily stirring the soup and seemed not to be listening. So she went on again. 24 hours, I think. Or is it 12? Oh, don't bother me, said the Duchess. I never could abide figures. And with that, she began nursing her child again, singing a sort of lullaby to it as she did so, and giving it a violent shake at the end of every line. Speak roughly to your little boy and beat him when he sneezes. He only does it to annoy because he knows it teases. It's my father's favourite line he used to quip to me regularly. Raised by brilliant maniacs can be antipathetic to sanguinity of the Homo sapiens sapiens kind, you understand. Chorus, in which the baby and the cook joined. Wow, wow, wow. While the Duchess sang the second verse of the song, she kept tossing the baby violently up and down, and the poor little thing howled so that Alice could hardly hear the words. I speak severely to my boy, I beat him when he sneezes, for he can thoroughly enjoy the pepper when he pleases. Chorus. Wow, wow, wow. Oh, thank you, Frangipani Tree. I don't mind if I do. Very generous and kind. Dropping your flowers just for the mama tea. in the space-time continuum, gifted by the gods as we are. Not even being sarcastic, but I might be a little bit high. Post-dance bliss, you understand? Natural highs are the best. Here, you may nurse it a bit if you like, said the Duchess to Alice, flinging the baby at her as she spoke. I must go and get ready to play croquet with the Queen, and she hurried out of the room. The cook threw a frying pan after her as she went, but it just missed her. Alice caught the baby with some difficulty, as it was a queer-shaped little creature and held out its arms and legs in all directions. Just like a starfish, thought Alice. The poor little thing was snorting like a steam engine when she caught it, and kept doubling itself up and straightening itself out again, so that, altogether, for the first minute or two, it was as much as she could do to hold it. Now Kermie's chewing on the seagrass mat of his swing. Been very playful and destructive. Maybe I'll bring his toys out here too, because he's wanting to play, actually. He's swinging now. Swinging! Are you swinging, Kermie? Are you the swinging pigeon? I'm an Indian ringneck, Mother. Don't you ever forget it. How dare you conflate me with pigeons? The only thing we have in common is that we're both birds and we fly. All right. Don't have to take offence at everything. It's not Alice in Wonderland. Or is it? As soon as she had made out the proper way of nursing it, which was to twist it up into a sort of knot and then keep tight hold of its right ear and left foot so as to prevent it undoing itself. Sounds like a pretzel, doesn't it? She carried it out into the open air. If I don't take this child away with me, thought Alice, they're sure to kill it in a day or two. Wouldn't it be murder to leave it behind? She said the last words out loud, and the little thing grunted in reply. It had left off sneezing by this time. Don't grunt, said Alice. That's not at all a proper way of expressing yourself. Someone should tell my former husband that. In fact, I do believe I did. I became conversant in Neolithic diatribe and knuckle-dragging, gronking, grunting linguistics. Not just conversant, but able to translate it into proper English. A series of moans and grunts sounded a bit like whale noises. Jared and I used to stand underneath the whales at the Queensland Museum and listen to their blue whale song, which sounded awfully familiar, and then we would laugh until we both cried, which when you think about it is not all that funny, because it was our lived reality. It's why I crave a man who can articulate, enunciate, pronounce, and use his vowels and his consonants to the most sibilant sounds. Hold conversations. A man of intellect and couth. Not even joking. Perfectly serious about that. How I love a man of intellect and articulation. Well, they're all out there, but they're married to other people, you understand. The baby grunted again, and Alice looked very anxiously into its face to see what was the matter with it. There could be no doubt that it had a very turned-up nose, much more like a snout than a real nose, although its eyes were getting extremely small for a baby. Altogether, Alice did not like the look of the thing at all. But perhaps it was only sobbing, she thought, and looked into its eyes again to see if there were any tears. No, there were no tears. "If you're going to turn into a pig, my dear," said Alice seriously, "I'll have nothing more to do with you. Mind now." The poor little thing, I'm being chewed on by tiny little ant things. The poor little thing sobbed again, or grunted. It was impossible to say which. And they went on for some while in silence. It's such a beautiful morning, by the gods. Astonishingly beautiful morning. And my little Kermie's got another blueberry. Blueberry, Kermie. Blueberry, Mama too. A yowza, yowza, yowza. He loves his blueberries. Alice was just beginning to think to herself, "Now what am I to do with this creature when I get it home?" when it grunted again so violently that she looked down into its face in some alarm. This time there could be no mistake about it. It was neither more nor less than a pig, and she felt that it would be quite absurd for her to carry it any farther. So she set the little creature down and felt quite relieved to see it trot away quietly into the wood. Pardon me. If it had grown up, she said to herself, it would have made a dreadfully ugly child, but it makes a rather handsome pig, I think. And she began thinking over other children she knew who might do very well as pigs, and was just saying to herself, if one only knew the right way to change them, when she was a little startled by seeing the Cheshire Cat sitting on a bough of a tree a few yards off. The cat only grinned when it saw Alice. It looked good-natured, she thought. Still, it had very long claws. Yes, baby, very long claws. And a great many teeth. So she felt that it ought to be treated with respect. Cheshire Puss, she began, rather timidly, as she did not at all know whether it would like the name. However, it only grinned a little wider. Come, it's pleased so far, thought Alice, and she went on. Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to walk from here? That depends a good deal on where you want to get to, said the cat. I don't much care where, said Alice. Then it doesn't matter which way you walk, said the cat. So long as I get somewhere, Alice added as an explanation. "Oh, you're sure to do that," said the cat, "if you only walk long enough." Alice felt that this could not be denied, so she tried another question. "What sort of people live about here?" "In that direction," the cat said, waving its right paw round, "lives a hatter, and in that direction," waving the other paw, "lives a March hare. Visit either you like. They're both mad." "But I don't want to go among mad people," Alice remarked. "Oh, you can't help that," said the cat. "We're all mad here. I'm mad. You're mad." "How do you know I'm mad?" said Alice. "You must be," said the cat, "or you wouldn't have come here." Alice didn't think that proved it at all. However, she went on. "And how do you know that you're mad?" "To begin with," said the cat, "a dog's not mad. You grant that?" "I suppose so," said Alice. He clearly hadn't met any of my dogs. All my dogs were quite bonkers. Lovely, but mad as meat axes. "I suppose so," said Alice. "Well then," the cat went on, "you see, a dog growls when it's angry and wags its tail when it's pleased. Now, I growl when I'm pleased and wag my tail when I'm angry. Therefore I'm mad." "I call it purring, not growling," said Alice. "Call it what you like," said the cat. "Do you play croquet with the Queen today?" "I should like it very much," said Alice, "but I haven't been invited yet." "You'll see me there," said the cat, and vanished. Alice was not much surprised at this. She was getting so well used to queer things happening. While she was still looking at the place where it had been, it suddenly appeared again. "By the by, what became of the baby?" said the cat. "I'd nearly forgotten to ask." "It turned into a pig," Alice answered very quietly, just as if the cat had come back in a natural way. "I thought it would," said the cat, and vanished again. Alice waited a little, half expecting to see it again, but it did not appear, and after a minute or two she walked on in the direction in which the March hare was said to live. "I've seen hatters before," she said to herself. "The March hare will be the most interesting, and perhaps, as this is May, it won't be raving mad, at least not so mad as it was in March." Sound logic, I might think. As she said this, she looked up, and there was the cat again, sitting on a branch of a tree. "Did you say pig or fig?" said the cat. "I said pig," replied Alice, "and I wish you wouldn't keep appearing and vanishing so suddenly. You make one quite giddy." "All right," said the cat, and this time it vanished quite slowly, beginning with the end of the tail and ending with the grin, which remained some time after the rest of it had gone. Well, I've often seen a cat without a grin, thought Alice, but a grin without a cat. It's the most curious thing I ever saw in all my life. She had not gone much farther before she came in sight of the house of the March Hare. She thought it must be the right house, because the chimneys were shaped like ears and the roof was thatched with fur. It was so large a house that she did not like to go nearer till she had nibbled some more of the left-hand bit of mushroom and raised herself to about 2 feet high. Even then, she walked up towards it rather timidly, saying to herself, "Suppose it should be raving mad after all. I almost wish I'd gone to see the Hatter instead." And thus concludes chapter 6, and we'll continue tomorrow with this wonderful story with chapter 7, which is titled A Mad Tea Party. Nothing quite like a mad tea party. My 23rd birthday was very mad indeed. My friends that I invited from my Jewish community all competed over who bought me the best present and acted absolutely in the most competitive and bitchy and divisive and uncouth way. I sat there thinking at the time, is this some kind of a Alice in Wonderland type nightmare? Except it was real, people of Earth. 2 friends got into a fight over which bought me the best perfume. They were both lovely perfumes. One was floral and one was very spicy. And then another friend came. She had no money. She had just separated from her husband. She got dreadfully upset about the scene and the fighting about presents, because she said to me, quite rightly, that it was rude and all she could afford to give me was a $2 scratchy ticket. And I said, it's not about the value of the present. I said, it's about the intention behind it and your presence at the party and being a friend. It's just as precious as any gift. In fact, more precious than gifts that had been fought over so viciously and sardonically and anti-humanistically. And it was very embarrassing putting me in that position, actually, wanting me to choose who was the more valued and more precious and more better friend. Ultimately, none of them. They all headed for the hills when I separated and divorced my husband. Not one of them were worthy of my time, effort, or emotions or energy. Scarpered like the vermin they truly were. I used to put on that perfume after that event and sometimes shake my head and shrug my shoulders and kind of laugh. Insanity it was, and insanity it shall always be. Not my insanity either, by the way. Yet I was the one that ended up cast into poverty and, put on very heavy psych meds and discombobulated out on my wits into a disability pension, and those evil bitches prospered. Life's not fair, but then it was never meant to be, was it, people of Earth? The fairness of life. What did my barrister say to me during the will dispute? There is no justice, just ice. easy for him to say while I was being robbed of houses and my rightful inheritance. There goes my glass. Never mind, people of Earth. That was then. This is now. We sit in the garden, enjoying the frangipani flowers gifted by the tree. Not a cloud in the sky. It's such a perfect day. I wanna spend it with you. It's such a perfect day. You just keep me holding on. Bye for now.